to be back. Welcome to Tina Zaccardi Bakes. I am Tina Zaccardi, winner of season 4 of the Great American Baking Show. And I know from now until, oh gosh, the next 6 or 7 weeks, you're going to be doing a lot of baking. And I'm here to help you out with all of that. In fact, I have a recipe that you can make for this Thursday for Thanksgiving. If you're having a little bit of a smaller crowd, these would be absolutely perfect. We are making apple hand pies with the easiest sour cream crust that we're going to make in the food processor. So let's jump right in there, and we're going to start with our filling. It's your typical apple pie filling. We've got apples, we've got brown sugar, white sugar, some cinnamon, a little cornstarch to thicken it all up. We're going to start with our apples. I like to use Granny Smith apples. They're a little bit on the tart side, and that way I can control the sugar. Add a little more, add a little less, depending on how the apples are. So I've got one that's already been cubed, and we're going to cut them into a dice about between 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 inch. I wouldn't go any larger than 1/2 inch because it's going to be hard to fill your pastry then, and you don't want it all oozing out and getting coming out of the seams. So let me show you how I like to slice my apple, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to take a vegetable peeler, and I'm just going to take the skin off the whole apple. And I've seen these ones where you stick the apple on the end and you crank it. I think I have to get myself one of those. And here we go. And you can use it, you don't like to use a peeler, you can use a small knife, a paring knife. And this is just an easier way that I like to do this. You don't have to worry about the core and cutting it in 4s and then worrying about taking the core out. So I've got my apple, it's already been peeled, and I like to make one cut on this side, one cut on that side, and then the 2 smaller sides. And you're done. You've got that apple core so much easier than any other method. I'm going to take these and kind of cut them in half to get them to about that between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. And then we're just going to dice them. And from 2 medium-sized Granny Smith apples, you should get about 2 cups, and that's about what we need. If you're a little over or it's a little less, that's okay. You might have a little extra filling left, but that's okay. Keep going until we get this all chopped up. Make sure you get a nice sharp knife to do this. I love cutting and chopping. I find that it's very, very therapeutic. There are people that hate it, but I love just chopping away. So if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will get the questions fed to me, and I can absolutely answer them. And don't wait till the end. Ask right in the middle. So I've got all the apples chopped up, and I'm going to take this out of the way with my peels and everything. Put this over to the side. And we're going to mix together all the things that make the apples taste really good. So I've got some brown sugar and some white sugar. And to that, we are adding 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you like more cinnamon, go ahead and add it. If you want to spice things up, you might be able, if you want to add a little ginger, a little cardamom. That goes really great with the apples. And we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch, which is going to help thicken up the juices. And this is great, especially if one of your seams have been sealed really well. You're not going to have a big flood of apple juice coming out of your hand pie. I'm going to get a whisk right back here. And we're just going to whisk it all together. So far, so easy, right? Okay. There we go. Now, I've got my hot plate here. And I've got a frying pan. You can use mine is non-stick. You can use whatever you have. And I've got it kind of about a medium heat. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our apples and we're gonna toss them right into this melted butter. And we're gonna turn this up, I think, just a little bit more. Everybody's in there. Hey. Gonna turn that on the spatula. We're gonna kind of toss these around in the butter. And then we're gonna take our sugar and our cinnamon and our cornstarch, and we are just going to sprinkle it right on top of there. And we're gonna start to mix it around. And what's going to happen is the apples are going to start to release all those delicious juices. And we're going to start to dissolve the sugars. And it's going to kind of get like nice and caramely. And you want to cook this until those juices start to thicken up. And this is great because it can be done the day before. And you can stick it in the fridge. And in fact, you want to stick it in the fridge because you want this to get set really, set up and get thick. And also you want it to be nice and cold when you fill your pastries. Because your dough is going to be nice and cold. And the last thing you want to do is put something hot on those pastries. So this is going to cook. And I'm going to move this over here and we're just going to let this cook. And we'll come back to it. Okay. Now the crust, and I told you before we started that it's super easy to do. We're going to make it in a food processor. Got everything we need. We need flour, a little bit of salt, some sugar, full fat sour cream. Use the full fat sour cream. This pie is going to just come beautifully tender with the full fat, not the low fat or the no fat, and butter.
Hey, Tina, Cassie saying, love your show. Welcome back, Tina.
Hey, Cassie, thanks so much. Where are you calling from?
I was saying, you make it look so easy.
This one is easy. I know you guys can do this. So we've got a cup and a quarter, which is 150 grams of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of sugar, and just a little bit of salt. And I can see our apples are starting to bubble away. I'm just going to give them a quick toss. And then we'll take our butter. And you want it to be super cold. This is just like any other pie crust you'd make. You want your ingredients to be really cold. And we're just going to cut it up into cubes. And I love my bench scraper because it cuts the butter so well. It's probably even better than a knife for doing this. Okay, so our butter is all cut up, and you can see it's in these cubes right here. We're going to take those, just toast this a little bit. Oh, we're having a little malfunction with our. Yes, let's plug that in, shall we? We're just going to mix up our dry ingredients. It happens to the best of us, right? So I'm going to take my cubed butter and we're going to stick it right in with the flour. And we're going to pulse it about 8 to 10 times. Don't do it any more than 10. You don't want that butter to be in really tiny, tiny little pieces. You want to see some butter in there because that's what's going to give you those really flaky layers when this crust hits the heat of the oven. Right, so we've got our butter in there and we're going to do it 8 to 10 times. So let's see. Okay, that looks really good. So if I can show you, see what it looks like? You still have pieces of butter in there. Then I'm going to use my scale to measure out some sour cream. Just kind of tossing the apples a little bit. can take this right off and stick this right on the scale. And what's great about the scale is I'm measuring it right into where I want it to go. I don't have to dirty a measuring cup. I don't have to dirty another bowl. And 4 tablespoons or a quarter cup is 60 grams. So we're going to, okay, there we go. I'm going to zero it out. And we're going to put our 60 grams right in here. This is why I love the scale. I dirty the spatula, that's it. No other cup, no other dish. Okay, I'm going to lower these apples a little. They're really bubbling now, but there's still a lot of juices, and you want the apples to be tender. You don't want, it depends on your likes. I like my apples a little bit of mushy in my pies, but if you like them with a little bit of bite to them or a little crunch, you don't have to cook it as long. Just as long as those juices are nice and thick, you should be good to go. So now we're going to put this back on here. And we are going to pulse until the dough starts to come together. Quite a few times, but you'll see it's going to form these kind of little curves. Let me show you what it looks like now. As you can see, it's starting to form these kind of little curves. And we're going to keep going until it just starts to hold together into some form of a mass. You can see it's starting to form into a ball. So we're going to take this off. We don't need our scale anymore, or our food processor. Remove the blade, just be careful with that. And we're going to take this, and we're going to just take a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick onto our surface. Keep checking those apples. I'm going to lower it a little, so I think we're almost there. We're going to cut this out. And we're going to start to just form it together. So a little tip, and it's not in the recipe online, but I like to cut this in half and wrap it in 2 because it'll be easier to roll out and cut out your ham pies. So I'm going to see. Let's see, it's 335, so that's 150, 160. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're half. When we roll this out, it's going to be in a square, so you want it to be kind of a square shape. Rectangle is fine too. As you can see, I'm forming it into a rectangle. And this, along with the filling, can be done the day before. And this needs a good chill. It needs at least a 2-hour chill. You want the flour to absorb all that moisture. You want the dough to relax. And you want it to be really cold when you go to roll it out. And that's it. That's the dough. There's really no guesswork. A lot of the flaky pie crust, in fact, mine too, will tell you 4 to 5 tablespoons of water. Depends on what kind of flour you use, the moisture in the air, the humidity, but this is pretty foolproof and it's such a great dough. And you can also use it for pies as well. My favorite way to use this is to blind bake it and then fill it with a no-bake filling, like something that's creamy, like a chocolate silk or a chocolate cream or a coconut cream. So love this dough. So we're going to put it in the fridge, and I'm going to actually get some dough that I already made. And this is half, because I'm going to show you how easy it is to roll this out. Instead of using one big one, we're going to do 2 smaller ones, and we should get 4 pies from each half.
Hey, Tina, how long do you leave it in the refrigerator before it's ready to go?
So it's a minimum of like 2 hours till it gets really cold. The best thing to do is to make it the day before and have it chill overnight.
Sounds
So
good.
so we've got our apples, if everybody can see, it's nice and thick. It almost looks like caramel. It's just delicious. It smells fantastic in here. There we go. And then from here, you put it in a bowl and cover it and stick it in the fridge. And I've got some that I already made. I made this yesterday, and it's ready to go. It's nice and thick and it's cold, and it'll be super easy to work with. I'm gonna get a few things over here now. I've got my pie crust, and I've got my rolling pin. And I know that a lot of people have problems when they go to roll anything out, whether it's pie dough, whether it's cookie dough. And it's really hard to get it even because always know there's some spots that are really thin and some spots that are really thick. So I'm going to help you out a little bit here. I'm going to put a little flour on our surface. And I have these two metal pieces that are 1/8 of an inch thick. And that's the exact thickness that we want our crust to be. So I'm just going to put them right here. We're going to take our dough and we're going to put it in between. This is pretty hard, so in order to soften it up, I'm going to give it a few wraps with my rolling pin. And this dough is really nice to work with, as long as it's nice and cold. Starts to give you a little problem, stick it back in the fridge. Don't fight with it, just stick it back in the fridge. So I'm going to start rolling this, and we want to roll this into about an 8-inch square. And pick it up and turn it. It'll help with it not sticking. You don't want to roll the whole thing out and find the whole thing is sticking. So every once in a while, just kind of pick it up and move it around. And what these metal pieces do is they act as a guide for my rolling pin. This rolling pin is not going to roll this dough any thinner than 1/8 of an inch. It's going to be absolutely perfect. Might have about 8 inches this way. Almost. Go a little bit this way again. There we go. Measure again. That's about 8. You need a little bit more flour, go ahead. Just a little bit. Don't overuse the flour. So that's 8 inches that way. I think this should be probably last roll over. It's about 8 inches that way. So I think we are good to go. So we're done with these, we're done with our ruler and our rolling pin. So this is what we're using to cut them. It's just a round cookie cutter. Could be metal, you could use plastic, it doesn't matter. And this is between 3 3/4 and 4 inches. I wouldn't go any smaller or larger than that. A little bit smaller and they're harder to fill. 4 inches is like the perfect size. And then I have some egg wash, which is an egg yolk and about a tablespoon of water just kind of mixed together. And that's going to kind of be our glue that's going to hold these together. And we're going to cut out 4 of these. And you notice we do 8 by 8. We got 4, 4, 4, and 4. We got 4. And you're going to be able to get 8 hand pies out of this dough. 4 in one half and 4 in the other. And doing it again in the 2 halves makes it so much easier. And then we have our last one. Oh, now you can remove the dough on the sides. You could also cut them as 4-inch squares, and then you don't have that kind of waste in the middle. But I like how the half moon shape kind of looks. So these are pretty easy to fill, and I'm gonna need a fork as well. One of those. Okay, so we're gonna put them together now. So I have one round of the dough, and I'm gonna take about a tablespoon. I wouldn't do any more than a tablespoon. And we're gonna put it right in the middle. Then we're gonna kind of make it a little bit of a rectangle, just kind of spread it out. And we're gonna take some of that egg wash. I'm gonna go all the way around the edge. You can see that. And I like to use like a little paintbrush that I get at the craft store, because this big brush is just way too big for doing that. But these are just perfect. Go around the edge. And then we're going to close them up. Just have the edges meet. Everybody can see that all the way around. Then I like to go around again and really press them together really, really well. And like I said, the 4 inches is the perfect size, a tablespoon of filling, and you shouldn't have it kind of swishing out. Just remember those, don't overfill them. Make sure you have at least 3 3/4 inch rounds. 4 would be better. And that's right, we have 1. So that's 1. I'm gonna do another one. Get our tablespoon of filling. Spread it out a little bit. Then again, we're gonna go around with our egg wash. And you don't have to put a lot, because then it'll get kind of slippery and it won't close, but just enough. Go around that edge. Bring the edges together. This takes a little patience. It's not something you want to rush through. You want to have them look pretty. And again, squeeze them all the way around. And then we have those 2, and I'm going to fill these a little bit later. So that was half the dough, and we can make 4. Do the other half of the dough and make 4 more, and you're going to have 8 in total. And then I like to take them and put them on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And I'm going to take a fork just to ensure that these guys stay closed and we don't have any apple filling, losing any apple filling. We are going to take the fork and we're going to crimp the edge. And you might need to dip it in a little flour every once in a while so it doesn't stick. I'm going to go all the way around. See how that looks? Very pretty. I'm going to go do the other one. All the way around. My kids were very excited that I'm making these because they get to eat them now when they come home. And then we have the other one. So you'll have 8 all together. And then from here, we'll take our bigger brush, because this will be a lot easier to do than with a small one. And we're going to brush the top of this with the egg wash. Make sure you get all over. You don't really have to do the edges because they're a lot thinner than the rest of it, so they're going to brown anyway. So you can just do that middle part. And this is going to give it that nice golden brown finish.
How long do you leave them in the oven, Tina?
So from here, we're actually going to place it in the freezer until they're firm. And what I love about that is that they're little individual little pies. So, which means that you can freeze them, put them in an airtight container, and then you can take out as few or as many as you want to bake at a time. Like if you're sitting there at night after dinner, like, oh, I really could use something sweet, but you don't want to go buy a whole pie or make a whole pie or make a big production. Just take one of these out, stick them in the oven, and it'll be great. So from here, we're going to sprinkle it after our egg wash with a little bit of turbinado sugar, which is kind of raw sugar. That's what it looks like. And it gives a really nice sweet crunch on top. Not much, just a little bit. You see, I'm just putting a little bit. From here, place them in the freezer until they're solid. And then put them in a 375-degree preheated oven, and you're going to bake them till they're for about 20-25 minutes. And this is what we're going to get. We get these beautiful little golden brown ham pies. They are so good. I'm gonna break one of them open, and you can see that beautiful apple filling in there. You see, there we go. There we go. They're so good. They really are good. So, you got that beautiful apple pie filling. And this crust, it's a little bit different than your regular, all butter flaky crust. It's flaky, but it's also tender. It's such a great compliment to the apples. And like I said, these are perfect for when you're having a small gathering, or you just want to freeze them. You can freeze them up until baking and just pull out one and pop it in the oven. And in 25 minutes, you'll have this beautiful apple ham pie with a sour cream crust. So thank you all for joining me today. I hope you guys make these for Thursday. They're super easy. You can make your crust and your filling on Tuesday. Make these, and you could even freeze them, put them together and freeze them Wednesday night. And you can even throw them in the oven while you're eating dinner. And that way you have fresh, warm apple ham pies after Thanksgiving dinner. So I hope everybody has a great time on Thursday, whether it's family or friends that you're spending the day with. And then have a great weekend after that. You'll see me back here on Monday.